Well, the work week is always a little bit brighter after a big old fighting Texas Aggie win, especially on the road, especially versus a premier opponent, especially at a national stage where your team finally breaks through and beats a ranked team on the road. It's been a while. And I think back to some recent performances on the road for A&M in these primetime spots. I think back to 2022 Alabama. You know, tough game, competitive game in a bad season, and you have a chance to win the game late, you come up short. I think back to last year, South Carolina on the road, Auburn on the road, that Auburn game. You had everything to play for in that game. It turned out you win that game, you're in the SEC championship. And you come up short at the end. You have some bad play, bad defensive play, a couple offensive drops, and you just don't win when the lights are the brightest, when everything's on the line, and when you have so much to play for. And obviously right now we're in week 3, coming off of week 3. Season's alive, all your goals are ahead of you, and this game represented a chance to get ahead. A chance for Mike Elko to make a statement early in the year with your entire SEC slate still to come. And they come out on top. They make the biggest play in the game. They avoid the biggest mistake in the game. You let the other team make that instead of A&M making the big mistake, and you actually capitalized on it. A&M didn't play perfect either. A&M won the game committing 13 penalties, giving up a bad special teams touchdown early in the game, which led to a slow start in the game. You overcame a slow start. You had a go-ahead touchdown get called back. You had some missed touchdown opportunities by your quarterback. And those are all the markers of games that A&M historically loses. Sloppy game, a couple of busts by the defense, and you still found a way to win. You had all the ingredients for a classic A&M come up just a little bit short at the end in a big game. But you clutch up. You finish. And that's all they talked about throughout the offseason. That's all we heard from players, coaches, people who cover this team. The mantra was to finish the game. And now you have a game versus a quality opponent under your belt. And because of that, I think one of the more exciting things coming out of this game is the fact that you're able to win a game while playing bad. But since you played bad in a lot of areas, sloppy, I should say, in a lot of areas, you have a ton of room for improvement. I mean, imagine if Marcel Reed connects on 2 of those 4 or so bad balls in the game. It could be a totally different football game. You could be throwing 50 points up on the road at South Bend versus a defense that was supposed to be one of the better ones in the country. You have so much room for growth. You have a bye week coming up next, and that makes this time extremely, extremely exciting for our Aggies. They have the task of being in the 100 now. They're a top 10 team. As we talked about, Marcel Reed wins this game. He's going to enter some fringe Heisman talks, and On3 just put out their company-wide Heisman polls, and Marcel Reed's 4th on that thing. So, of course, he's going to get the talk. You have to survive rat poison now. You have to not take a picture. That is the new challenge. To avoid that, to keep improving, and trust the process. But here we are, guys, 3-0. When's the last time you started 3-0 and had a quality win under your belt? Was that 2016 or so? You haven't finished those seasons very well. That's the task now. Guys, thank you for being here. We're going to reflect on this game. There's a lot to think about, a lot to talk about, a lot of players to digest. We saw some really good in the game. We saw stuff that needs to be cleaned up. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you guys could subscribe to this channel, just set it and forget it. It's super easy to do. It helps me out greatly. I'm going to keep putting content out all season. We're going to have more watch parties. The watch party on Saturday was legendary, guys. So many of y'all came by. Chat was electric. Chat was alive. I was freaking out on camera. I'm sure you were freaking out behind your screens as well. And that way we get to do it together, because otherwise I'm in a room by myself, freaking out, having a conniption fit, falling apart. It's so great to do that amongst Aggies and even the opposing fan base that was there too. We had a really good time with Notre Dame fans on this channel. Thank you to all of you guys who maybe stumble into this one. If you can stomach watching an Aggie reflect on the win, thank you guys for being great. But if all of y'all could sub, that would help me so much. And shout out to RHOBACK for sponsoring the channel. 20% off discount code Drewtamu. Products like this, all kinds of colors, all kinds of polos. They make a great product. Go check it out. Link is in the description. But in this game, the stars were the difference. I think the differentiating factor for A&M in this game was that the best players on our team played better football than the best players on Notre Dame. A&M largely bottled up a star-studded running attack by Notre Dame. They gave up 136 yards on the ground, and that was only factoring in 1 sack. There was a lot of good run defense in this game, and it got through a few times. Of course, it's a high-level running attack, but you did the best you could. But Love, under 100 yards. Price, bottled up. You had some great success there. And the stars on A&M side of the football, they proved to be the real deal. Because one of the questions we had going into this game was, do these receivers that look so good versus UTSA and Utah State, will that translate to high-level opposition, to higher-level opposition? And they did. They were the difference in the game. Mario Craver over 200 yards. Concepcion in the 80s. Big play after big play. A couple of dominant drives by KC. Obviously a dominant game from Craver. That was the difference in this game. I thought just A&M had the sheer star factor on their side. And of course, they made the last clutch play and did not make the last mistake. The offense is the real deal. This is an offense that keeps you in any game you'll be in this season, despite whatever your defense has to work through, which we'll talk about in a second. There was a point in the game where you give up the flag to Ricks. You know, Ricks has that push out of bounds, bad decision. Maybe it was ticky-tack, maybe it wasn't. You can't put yourself in that position in a game. You end up giving a touchdown on that drive by giving them life because it would have been 3rd and long if you don't get that penalty. The next possession by the offense, Reed throws a bad interception. The possession after that, defense does lock down at the goal line, which was a very, very important stand in the game, but you give up a field goal. So it's touchdown, interception, field goal. Offense finally gets the ball back for their first true possession of the game because before that, Craver just ran for 890 yards for a touchdown on a catch and run. That amazing spin out play where, you know, Christian Gray made a really bad decision just trying to shoulder check, and Mario Craver's not going down, man. That guy's balanced. That guy's wiry, strong. That guy has all the torque in the world. But your first real drive after giving up those 3 negative defensive drives, it was a masterclass. Let's see. I'm gonna read that play chart to you on that 5th offensive possession of the game. Le'Veon gets stuffed on first down for a gain of 1. You get a first down pass to Craver. You get a first down pass to KC, that high ball that he skied for. KC's catch radius is insane for his size. He's 5'11", but he's playing like a 6'2" receiver. He's such a quarterback's friend. Then you get the deep ball to KC. Marcel actually places this one. It wasn't a perfect ball. He could have laid it out more, maybe laid it outside a little bit, but that's nitpicky. It was a great ball that got the ball to the 1. And then Le'Veon punches it through. Your offense has the ability to score quickly, to respond in games, to get your team back into a game. Because at that point in the game, it felt really, really bad, man. It felt like things were not going to go your way because that was after the INT and a punt block and a couple of scores given up. This offense is a stabilizer, and this offense went and did it on the road. That offense can take you places in SEC play. But for some reason, and I think there is good reason for it, but I think the narrative surrounding this game coming out of it is very Notre Dame-centric, very Chris Ash-centric. Chris Ash doesn't know how to call a defense. What are we doing in zone coverage? Why aren't we jamming receivers? Why aren't we playing this the way we think we should? Maybe they've gone up against 2 really good offenses because Miami looks pretty damn good. They just blew out South Florida, who everyone thought could be a playoff contender after their first couple of weeks of football. Maybe they just went into a buzzsaw. Credit to Notre Dame for not opening the year with a couple of cupcakes. They played real offenses their first 2 weeks of the season. So Notre Dame fans, wait and see. Because, yes, you're missing Xavier Watts. Obviously, we're asking Christian Gray to be in a prominent role. Stroman's out there. Schuler's out there in a prominent role. Obviously, Leonard Moore played well. But I think the narrative that the secondary is toast is maybe a little bit overblown. But even if it's true, even if A&M went against a secondary that's not as good as advertised, good thing they thoroughly waxed them. Good thing these receivers dominated their matchups. And, of course, they stuck Leonard Moore on KC. Bottled up KC the best they could. KC still ends up getting 86 yards or so on the game. But there's more than one superstar in this receiver room for A&M. Obviously, Mario Craver was huge in the game, and they allocated most of their resources to stopping KC. And they said, Craver, I mean, we're going to stick our lesser guys on you. The Hobbs 21 kid, the Christian Gray had a rough game, and Craver cooked. Craver ate. But also, Terry Bussey had a couple of big first downs in this game. I think we see Bussey developing into a guy that can get open, has good hands, makes good decisions running his routes, sitting in zones, helping the quarterback out with his, coming back to the ball on one of those deep crosses he had late in the games, one of the digs he had late in the game. I think this receiver room's obviously in really good shape, and I think as Bussey continues to grow and as ABR gets involved, because he still hasn't gotten involved yet, it could be really, really good. Not to mention, you had a couple of big tight end plays as they really sold out for these receivers late. Theo, poor Theo, I'm sure those 2 minutes after the hold were hell for him, ended up benefiting this team because you're able to milk the clock. But he had a huge grab for a first down, and that also harkens back to the Auburn game last year where Theo had a big drop in crunch time, a chance to maybe go ahead in that game in a bigger way than you did versus Auburn last year. He rights that wrong by making a big contested grab. And then obviously Nate Borkesher is a weapon, man, sure-handed. We had multiple people compliment him as having arguably the best hands on the team. you have weapons all over the place. And we haven't even talked about this running game, which is supposed to be A&M's trademark, their brand of play going into the year. And that hasn't even hit its stride yet. But the really encouraging thing right now in this running game, Le'Veon Moss, ACL, MCL injuries late last season, had 20 carries on the road versus Notre Dame. Le'Veon's ready to go. Le'Veon is ready to take a full running back one workload, and this is a game where you played 5 running backs. A&M's willing to go 5 deep at the running back room. Of course, just a couple of snaps from Morrow and Smith, but you're using 2 running backs at a time. They had split backfield often in this game, and A&M's just playing to their strengths. You have 3 tight ends you like. You have 5 running backs you like. You have 2 receivers you really like, and then 2 more that you're okay with playing. So they're going tight end heavy. They're going running back heavy, and they're featuring those 2 receivers a lot. This offense has so many places it can go with the ball. And the last piece, and we're going to say this is a missing piece, but it was a resounding strength in the game regardless, it's Marcel Reed just hitting these plays that are there for him. Because Marcel Reed is seeing it, right? It's one thing if we're seeing receivers running free and Marcel Reed's just missing it. I think that happened a little bit last year. But the difference with Marcel Reed this year is he's seeing it consistently, but he's overthrowing balls, he's underthrowing balls. Imagine he's connecting on those. And I have a feeling he will. That's just a calibration, man. I don't know if it's necessarily straight accuracy. I don't think he's missing them, bad. He's overthrowing balls. He doesn't have that feel with his receiver speed yet. And I believe early in a year, that's something that can come. But talking about Marcel, because there was so much positive too for Marcel in a game where he passed for like 47%, and we're still calling it a good game for Marcel, and he still finds himself on Heisman lists in week 4 of a football season. It's the clutch factor. 3 games in a row that went to crunch time. 3 Marcel Reed last minute, or at least last couple of minute go-ahead drives. Auburn went ahead, but the defense didn't hold its own. Southern Cal went ahead. Defense didn't hold its own. This game, defense gives up a score. You have to score a touchdown to win it thanks to the drop snap on the PAT. And he does just that again. That's 3 for 3 in your last clutch games. Marcel Reed has the clutch gene. You're going to find yourself in more close games this year. The SEC is chaos. Mississippi State, Arkansas, Missouri, all better than expected. Auburn's probably better than expected. You obviously still have LSU and Texas on the schedule. You're going to be in this situation again. And you can rest easy on the fact, and hopefully the team doesn't feel this way, but us watching it can understand. We have a gamer quarterback that's got ice water running through his veins that has no moment too big for him in a game. Because those 3 games we just talked about, none of them were at Kyle Field. None of them were in the friendly confines of the maroon and white. He's doing it on the road. He's doing it in hostile atmospheres. The loudest stadium can be was in that clutch drive against Notre Dame, and he gets it done at the very last play. Marcel Reed's a good guy. Marcel Reed's a good quarterback. We're seeing him stay in the pocket. We're seeing him go through his reads. We're seeing him not get caught up in that should I run or should I pass kind of head decision. He's sticking with it. He understands that his receivers are guys that need to have the ball in their hands, and that maybe not scrambling, even though he wants to, is the right choice on some of these plays. But the scramble is still there. The quarterback run is still there. He still averaged around 5 yards a carry. Had a clutch first down run late in this game. I couldn't be more high on this offense, man. I couldn't be more hopeful for this offense, because as good as it was, there's probably like 14 to 21 points they left on the board this game. It can be so much better. And we're just now getting into SEC play. Protection was great in the game. You didn't give up a sack, couple pressures, but nothing serious against a front that has a lot of athletes at the defensive end and linebacker position. You protected really, really well. It looks like Amari Daniels is the 3rd down back, and he gave up pressure versus Utah State in a big, big play. He didn't give anything up this game, and he was contacting oncoming rushers. He was doing really, really well in pass pro for a running back. I'm confident having Amari Daniels as your passing down back. I'm excited to see him maybe get involved in the catching game too, because him protecting is now on tape. Maybe he slips out every now and then. Keep an eye on that. Obviously, we're going to keep using these tight ends. They tried to get Nyblack involved. Nyblack still looks like he's not entirely comfortable in the system and the play calls. He'll get more comfortable over the weeks. But, he got open on that play that Marcel overthrew him. It's going to come for Nyblack. He'll have a game this season. We're waiting to see there. And, of course, let's finish the offensive talk with Colin Klein. Absolutely in his bag this game. He saw that this team was sticking Leonard Moore on KC. And he saw that you could use motion and cause some chaos on the defensive side of the football. You can, get rid of press coverage. You can have guys shifting. You can snap the ball while they're shifting. and that'll free these smaller receivers up to get hands off their body and run free, like we saw on that Craver 90-yard touchdown catch and run. I mean, Klein was targeting the soft spots in this defense all night. We all saw the Miami game. 21 was a weakness. Christian Gray showed it entire last year. He could have a really good play, then he can just bust entirely the next play. It was a rough game for Christian Gray. Our receivers kind of dominated Christian Gray in the game, and that's just where Klein went. Klein went away from their strengths and went to their weakness. And, you know, he didn't run the ball fantastically in this game, but you have to imagine that comes. I feel like the O-line took a step this game, obviously in protection. I think run blocking was even better too this game, and they just made some good plays because Notre Dame has a good front seven. It's all going to come together for Klein. Klein's in his bag, and I can't wait to see what else he does. Let's move to the defensive side of the football. Guys, thank you for being here again. Shout out to RHOBACK, 20% off discount code Drewtamu. They just put out their Texas A&M line for the fall. It's really cool. They make a really good product. The clothing, especially for us bigger guys, is kind of snug up top and looser in the belly region. It makes you look like a stud. I can't recommend them enough. Check them out in the description below. Thank you, RHOBACK, for supporting the channel. Discount code Drewtamu. Let's talk about the defense. It's a long way to go, man. We have a long way to go on the defensive side of the football. But preseason, we talked about it. This defense is not going to be magically fixed from game one of the season. It's going to take time. This is a work in progress. These are players still adapting to Elko's scheme. Elko with a more hands-on approach with this defense. And they made mistakes, really big mistakes, potentially game-defining mistakes, but they also had some game-defining positive plays, and we're going to talk about all of that. Let's start with the bad. Still busting in zone coverage. Still not getting appropriate depth on your zones. Still letting balls get over you. Still having guys standing too close to each other. Still not communicating the best on zone defense. That has to get better. We saw the wheel route to Love completely wide open. We saw a deep play to a Great House late in the game where you didn't get appropriate depth on your zone. We saw zone coverage breakdown. They attacked the soft spots in their zone on some short passing stuff later, which is fine. That's going to happen. They're going to find that if you have a good quarterback and receivers, they're going to sit in zones. But the problem on a couple of those plays was you couldn't tackle once they made the play, and you gave up first downs on those. So you just got to keep working on this zone defense, man. I still like our 3 cornerback tandem and man coverage. I really like Tyreek Chappelle in coverage. Des Ricks, dude. I mean, my goodness, shining star of this defense. Still hasn't given up a completion on the season, I don't think. Incredible turnaround for Des Ricks. And Will Lee had his hands full. Fields for Notre Dame is the real deal. It's a big receiver. Lee tried to jam him, and that's a Lee specialty, a strong corner in Lee. And Fields largely disregarded those. Fields, for his size, can also stop on a dime. A lot of stop routes, a lot of curls were beating Lee. I still don't worry about Lee long term. I don't think you're going to go up against such a physical specimen again. You didn't give up the big explosives to Fields. It was just kind of the intermediate stuff that you were giving up, the stop routes, the comeback routes. But I still like these guys, man. I still like this trio. But I still think the biggest issue with this team is just the outside run contain. You did bottle up a running attack, but still outside, things are getting through, man. You're not setting the edge from the linebacker or the safety position. We're making some bad decisions with our tackling angles out there. We're letting guys get outside of us. They caught us once on a 3rd and long on one of those running plays. We saw that several times versus UTSA. That's one of the hallmarks of that UTSA running game versus A&M. You know, on 3rd and long, oftentimes Cassius Howell, defensive ends, the edge rushers are going to pin their ears back and try to get to the quarterback. Running backs just running right through that space, occupying the space where the D end would be if he were trying to play the run and just kind of stonewalling right there. Having said that, on running downs, I thought Cassius Howell was really, really solid, especially when he was the strong side for these running plays. I thought he held his own really well, and going into the year, that was the next evolution for Cassius Howell. We had to see that run-stop rigidity come to fruition. I think we saw it from Cassius Howell. You know, made that one big mistake, but I think for the most part, he was very, very solid in run support, allowed some linebackers to make some plays, especially on inside runs. But let's talk about the good, because I think there was a lot of it, and I think it gets overshadowed. And if you rewatch the game, you tell me if you feel the same way. I don't think you win the game without some of these defensive stops you had. I look back to early in the game, you had a stop on a 3rd and 1 coming off of that timeout that A&M called, where Scooby was untouched and contacted Love in the backfield, but Hicks wins his assignment, and they bottle Love up for a loss of yards on a 3rd and 1, disallowing them to go for it on a potential 4th and 1 that they probably would have felt good about. If they just keep trying it, they're going to get it because it's a good running attack. But you get a TFL there. You think to late in the 3rd quarter, where they go back to the Wildcat. Love kind of bounces it outside. You make first contact with Sanford, who does a great job flowing with that play, because something we see with the linebackers a little bit too often with this team is they kind of attack interior a little bit too strong and they don't remain flexible to get outside, to outside contain if need be, making some bad decisions, making some hasty decisions there, which I know want to be aggressive, but you got to find the balance. Sanford doesn't get bottled up there. He's unblocked. He's free. He makes first contact. And, of course, Radcliffe goes and cleans it up. That's a huge stop on a fourth down late in the game to get the ball back. You also had a goal line stand when we were talking about that stretch the offense responded to really well, where you gave up the touchdown because of the Des Ricks penalty. You give an interception away. You hold them to a field goal. That was a goal line stand. Cassius Howell was huge in the running game on that goal line stand. You force a field goal. Of course, he had the Will Lee pass breakup. Really big moments from this defense. And a couple guys to highlight. I think Regis is just such an underrated, undervalued interior defensive lineman. He wins so much more than he loses. And, obviously, you're not going to win a game by yourself. But I think Regis is doing a fantastic job. And we're finally seeing it, man. DJ Hicks is showing that 5-star talent. So many individual efforts by DJ Hicks this game. He's holding his own. He's being rigid in run stop. He's moving bodies. But he is making those plays that these 5-star guys come to college to make. It's happening now his junior year. It happened at the highest stage. We got a ball player, guys. The conveyor belt of defensive line talent at A&M is still running strong. And I'm looking at those two. I'm looking at Cassius Howell, who's looking as dominant as anybody in the country right now, as the poster childs of it. And, of course, a couple of positives. I think Onyedem's doing well. I wouldn't put him in that same category just yet. I think Onyedem's holding his own. I think, obviously, Marcus Radcliffe is the exception to the rule in the secondary. I think he makes a lot of good decisions. And a very unsung hero for the season so far, it's TJ Searcy. He's not making big plays, but he's also not getting pushed around. He's making piles. He's holding his own. He's being a strong side defensive end, man. He's really good in run support. He's really good at holding bodies. I'm really liking what we're getting from those three guys. But, stuff where we're lacking again, it's kind of when things get outside. I don't think we tackle the best from the corner position and run support right now. I think the other safeties that aren't Marcus Radcliffe are making a lot of mistakes. We got to be a lot better there. And I think linebackers on outside runs are not as good as they are in the interior or in pass rush. Zone defense, man, got to be a lot better. But I'm not shying away from the notion. I think at some point this year, we're going to have high-level defense. I think the pieces are in play. Now, here's the one concern that's maybe an unsung concern that might be a year-long thing. And we have to see what the answer is here. This offense scores really quickly. This offense can have 4-play drives pretty regularly, or a 2-play drive like you had to Craver early in the game. This defense will be on the field a lot this year. And you don't rotate a lot. Interior defensive line, you only went through 3 bodies this game. I think Dalen Evans only had 4 snaps. It was all Onyedem. It was all Regis. It was all Hicks. Once Bryce went down, you didn't rotate safety. You don't rotate nickel. You didn't want to rotate corner because you're going to trust Will Lee. And how are you taking Des Ricks out of the game right now? You're not rotating a lot defensively, and usually you rotate pretty heavily in this conference or in college football as a whole. You rotate on defense. A&M does, but it's like one rest at a time, one spell at a time. You're only really going too deep at defensive end right now. Kennedy didn't have that many snaps. Jones didn't have that many snaps at this level. In the first 2 games they did, and we'll see how that changes once you go home to Kyle Field. But I worry about the defense late in games. That's something to keep an eye on. Getting tired. I think we saw that on that go-ahead touchdown by Love late in the game. I think we felt like maybe if we would have gotten a stop earlier there, we would have felt really good, obviously. That goes without saying. But as that drive went on, it felt like the defense kind of lost some steam, and that was, capitalized by the touchdown at the end where we just were pretty soft on that play. I want to see this rotation grow, and that's going to take weeks because you got some young guys coming up. Dalen Evans, Jordan Lockhart had a rough game early. They went to Sanford. I haven't highlighted Sanford yet. Scooby goes down. Scooby is so important to this front seven. Just his athleticism, his instinct. You lose him. Sanford comes in. Big tackles for loss. Big open field tackles. The only sack in the football game. Plays a quality game. You found a player in this game. Because Sanford was not playing in the rotational kind of ranks in the first 2 games. It was Lockhart. Lockhart won the battle. But Lockhart struggled. They go back to Sanford, and he was one of the reasons A&M wins this game. I don't know if you win if Sanford doesn't have the game that he does, because it was that close of a game. You needed everybody to do what they did. Credit to Sanford. A couple of Katie Piato superstars this game in Sanford and DJ Hicks. Shout out to you guys and Katie. But going forward, guys, it's a very, very opportune bye week. You're bruised and banged up after this game. You had 2 players go down. I feel like Scooby comes back. It looked like a pull to me. We're going to wait and see. Who knows what happened there. We're praying for the best there. Bryce, it sounds like he avoided the worst. To me, it looks like bad concussion based on what we're hearing. Hopefully the neck is okay. That's the big scare there. We'll wait and see on Bryce. That could go any direction right now. But you want to get healthy. Obviously, every player has nicks and knacks after that game. You get a bye week to get healthy, to feel good about yourself, but more so, you get to reflect on that tape. That's some really good tape to get before a bye week. That's the game. We talked about Notre Dame. Their advantage to getting the bye week before A&M is they had an all-hands-on-deck game versus Miami. They can go and fine-tune everything because Miami showed them everywhere they needed to work. We had that versus Notre Dame, and now we get 2 weeks going into SEC play, into a 3-game homestand for this team to get right, and I expect them to play a lot better coming out of this bye. Because one thing I think this team is doing is targeting exactly where they were bad last year. Not entirely, but piece by piece, and improving upon it. You think about game 1 to game 2, the run fits, the run defense, that improved in a big way, and that translated to week 3. You bottled up a really good running attack. You think about last year, not finishing games. You finish a game this time. Things are getting better, and I expect that to continue through a bye week. Marcel's development is going to be crucial to this year, and even with Marcel right now, it's obviously good enough, but this team can become absolutely devastating on offense if that deep ball comes from Marcel Reed. And again, he has time. Calibrate. And the running backs are only going to get healthier. The offensive line is only going to start clicking more. We're coming up on week 3. 3 weeks since Fothery was announced injured. Is Fothery going to jump back into the rotation? They're rotating a lot at the offensive line. That's just going to add depth, freshness, new looks. Looking at that, O-line, running back should be trending the right direction. But again, they have to take this challenge, man. They're once again the hunted, just like they were after the LSU game last year. How's it going to be different? How are you going to commit to the process of improvement and not take a picture of what you've already done only 3 weeks into a football season? That's their task right now, and I trust Elko, man. And if they are able to do that and continue improvement and not just be fat and happy with what they are, it's a 10-win football team. We said that we have the right to reevaluate the year after this game. I said 9 wins. They take that challenge. I think they do. A&M's winning 10 this year. A&M will be in the playoff, but they have to take the next steps. All right, guys, comment all of your thoughts on this game. Anything I didn't cover, anything you disagree with, anything you agree with, throw it in the comments. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'll talk to you soon. Make sure you subscribe. It helps me so much. Appreciate you guys. Gig 'em. We beat the hell out of Notre Dame.